Welcome, I'm Darrel. Thought I'd take this moment to just give you another little tip that I think is very important. When drawing a mouth, it is easy to get so absorbed in the shape of the mouth that we just want to make an outline to the lips. And what I want to really point out is that most often it is a very soft edge. This is something that's very important in the 5-pencil method. I talk about this in the lessons, and if you haven't had a chance to go to 5pencilmethod.com, do that and take advantage of those free tutorials. But I think one of the things that is extremely important is to keep the edges soft. So instead of having something that comes up here and is very pronounced, and I don't want to have it a solid line even if I intend to change it, because it gets very hard to get rid of that once we've established it. But I don't want to have something that is overbearing and becomes almost like a cartoon or a coloring book. I want to have this be very soft. So I would come in and do something very, very light. I have to have something because I need to know where to draw and where to add my values, but something that I'm going to be able to add some value to and have it be absorbed into that value so that we no longer see that outline to the lips. Now, one of the very important parts of a mouth, as far as I'm concerned, is to show a separation between the two lips. If I don't have the information in my photograph, I want to take the liberty of creating it in my drawing. Because I think it's very important to have a clean edge to value. There's no way I can have a separation between two elements like this unless I have a clean edge. And this helps me establish what is shading what. Even though it looks like the shading might be here because of the contour of the upper lip, and because this is so full and it comes out so much past the front of the face, it comes out towards you so much more than the top lip, this has a tendency to look darker. But I find that the recipe is really good to follow, to have a clean edge and then fade it this way, even though it gets light very quickly because of the fullness of the lip. Then I have a chance to play off of it and start adding my value in this upper lip. Because there is quite a bit of shade in that upper lip. It angles in towards the division between the two lips. And I'm laying down my initial value here and sketching it out with my 4H. Another thing that's very important in the 5-pencil method, I have an order to my value. This helps keep you in control, helps you not leap ahead and try to guess how dark something should be ahead of time. I want to stay in control and be the one to decide how dark and where to stop, increasing my value. It lays down a good foundation, helps cut down some of the white grain of the paper, gives it a little more saturation to demonstrate shadow areas, and helps me avoid having a competing texture where I may want something else a little more textured, and now I have this competing with it. I don't want that. I want to have it nice and smooth like lips would be. If I didn't lay down this initial value with the 4H, I would miss that opportunity. The other thing about a mouth, again, is that it's arced this way. The middle is probably towards us as she's facing us, and I want it to get a little darker and darker as it goes back towards the corner. Now as I get enough value and I start absorbing that initial sketch line that I put in here, if I want it to go away, I want to put something in the same direction. So as I come up here, I want to fade it away as I come towards the brighter part of the skin, brighter part of the face. And then I want to reinforce this and make sure that the top one is shading the bottom one. So I make a clean edge to value here to separate those two dimensions. And then I can play off of that and start back up, coming lighter and lighter and lighter as I come away from the division between the two lips, where it's darker. I'm going to pull off a couple of little darker places that just keep gaining so that I can have the opportunity again to have a nice soft edge of the lip. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my 2H, increase the value a little bit. Need some contrast to illustrate what I'm trying to show you here. Naturally, we're not taking this to the finish. That's not the point, but I still want to just emphasize the fact that we want to come out here lighter and lighter and lighter. Still hold my clean edge in the division between the two lips. And because this upper lip kind of comes from the division and comes out towards the front, it gradually gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So we'll just do enough here just to make sure you understand what I'm trying to accomplish here. I want a range of value though. I never want to just go ahead and fill this in and for the sake of putting value in here, I want to always think contour. Like I've said before, I'm obsessed with curves. It's so much better to at least demonstrate curve than have anything go flat. Look how soft this edge is. And it seems that in most cases the corners, both the bottom and the lower, you notice that this is so soft. It's probably because of the contour and the way this, in the middle of the lip, it's shaded a little different. But it's just something that our minds expect to see. So now I want to go ahead and build up enough contrast that I can have that contour and curve. I want to be able to have my clean edge, I need a division. But you know, if you followed what I've talked about with mouths, I think one of the recipes that really works is to ever so slightly show that the top one is shading the bottom one. Even if it gets light fairly quickly, which is the case most of the time, because the bottom lip is fuller and it comes way past the shadow of the upper lip. It catches the light in such a way that... But anyway, I like to be able to have that good division, and if I'm going to dedicate one side or the other to a shadow, I usually do this. And then I can continue on playing off of that and having my gradation again as I work my way out to that soft edge. Now, one of the things that can make the outer edge a little more defined, we're talking about a soft edge to the lip, but one of the things that can make it look a little more defined is depending on how much of a ridge there is. A flare, you might want to say, because you'll notice that this is lighter here. It's because it dips in and it comes up and over and back towards the mouth. So we have often a little bit of a flare. Depending on how prominent that is, that will dictate how much of a defined edge you may have. But still, I think that you probably can never go wrong by keeping the edges soft. So I'm going to create enough contrast that I can have that gradation. So that when I come out here, naturally the face would have some value in it also. So I want to be able to have this dark enough, but just dark enough, that it allows me to have some value in the skin, because I certainly don't want the skin to just be left without any value. If there's nothing in there, it is going to be flat. I can contour nothing that doesn't have some value in it. It goes right along with that rule of the light, that everything that's the same color will be flat. This is the reason I like to build it up, is because I will need to know that in advance. I don't want to just go out there and say, well, I'm going to have value in the skin, so I better put a bunch of value in it. I want to have it in the right order. We could go up to the next pencil. This is my HB. And we could reinforce the base again, so I could come out there with a little more value. Don't want to be left with a line. And if I want to do it in the way I've talked about, I would like to be able to have that edge and make sure that the shadow is on the bottom lip. Even though overall this is going to be a lip darker than the bottom. But that initial part there, it's just something I've found that works. Your brain reads this perfectly, and it's just something that works whether you see it in your photograph or not. As we get farther back towards the corner of the mouth, the recesses are probably a little darker. But now, because I have this darker, I can come out here even more. If I started with my HB, it would probably be too coarse. But I've got that undercoating and it's all nice and soft. And then I come in here and I can work on some of this, some of the expansion lines and the texture of the lip. It's better to keep it a little subliminal. But this is what I want to do, rather than have something like this. And even if I was going to color it in, it's very easy to end up with a line that shows through anyway, just like I've talked about with hairlines and a number of other things. I don't want this line to be so dark that it dictates to me how dark I have to go to make it go away, because I certainly don't want to have that line, and I want it to just fade in to the value I'm going to have. So I'm making this darker so that you can see it, but when you're drawing, only make it as dark as you need for a guideline. So what we're trying to accomplish here is to help us avoid having an outline to the lips. We want a soft edge. Just want to emphasize that so you'll be thinking about it. And I'm making these lines, these guidelines, a little darker for you to see them, but I want you to remember to only make the lines, which you may need to help form where you're going to put your value. I want you to only make them as dark as you need so that you know where to put your value, and so that they can fade away into the value you're going to put there. We never want them to go ahead and dictate how much I'm going to have to darken it to make that go away. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed showing you another little tip, and hope you have fun drawing.